Hey y'all, this is Brita for The Happier Attorney, the channel where we talk about flat fees and mindset and personal development for attorneys so that you as an attorney can be a happier person. And today we're going to be talking about DIY, doing it yourself, and giving you my framework. It's not the only framework, obviously. This is my opinion, but as someone who has a long history of DIY, I've learned some things. So this is my criteria for when I do DIY, when it's a good idea to do it, when it's not a good idea to do it, and the benefits and the costs. We don't think about the costs a lot of times when we try and DIY it. And this is applicable to anything that you're going to be doing, anything that you think to do DIY, and most certainly with flat fees. And we'll go into the specifics with flat fees. All right. One of the things that I see, and I have fallen into this trap as well, we as attorneys, when a client comes to us, a potential client, or when we hear, people talking about, oh, well, can't I just do this myself? What's our reaction? Our reaction is, really? Really? I have a doctorate degree. I have, 25 years of experience. You think that you can just fill out the forms on the internet and it's that simple? Of course it's not. And they're going to get themselves in big trouble. And it's going to cost a lot more to come back and try and clean it up. And a lot of times you can't. They're stuck, okay? So we know that about our potential clients, and then we turn around and do the same thing. When they come to us and say, well, this is a really simple matter, they have no basis of knowledge for that, to make a statement like that. And when something looks simple, generally it's because the person doing it knows what they're doing. It's generally not that simple. And yet when we turn around and think we can DIY it, we're falling into the same trap as those potential clients most of the time. So just be cautious of that. So whether you are a DIYer or not, I'm a big DIYer. I enjoy doing things on my own. Ever since I was a little kid, I'm one of these, I can do it myself, okay? And that has gotten me into a lot of trouble. I could talk for 3 hours about all of the, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, including just last weekend setting a table on fire, okay? But I've gotten smarter about it, other than the table fire incident. And now this is really the criteria that I use, all right? Because it's pretty important to know if you're getting into water that's too deep for you, especially with your business and your practice and your bar license, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to implore you, if you get nothing else out of this video, take your ego out of the DIY process. And here's what I mean by that. I should be smart enough, I am smart enough that I should be able to figure this out myself. That is going to bite you in the ass. That thinking, that ego is going to bite you in the ass. It's not about your intelligence level. It's about you haven't done this before. You don't know what you don't know. It's not that you're not intelligent, but you don't know what you don't know, okay? So take your ego out of it. That, man alive, that's going to bite you, okay? So the first thing to ask yourself is, what is the skill level here? Is this, hanging a picture on a wall, which, by the way, if you don't do it right, can tear the wall apart or break the picture, okay? Again, just because something looks simple on a YouTube video doesn't mean it's simple when you don't know what you're doing, okay? Do you want the skill? Yeah, you could probably figure out how to re-roof your house. Do you want to know how to re-roof your house? Is that a skill you want? If not, what are you doing? Okay? But really, again, Do not fall into the trap. If something looks easy, it's because the person knows what they're doing, because they've done it year after year. How many times? They earned that skill. Most of the time, unless they're, some artist savant, it's because they've done it 1,001 times. They've done it 10,000 hours. Okay, that's why it looks simple. Do you enjoy the task? The DIY that I do, the crafts, the art, the woodworking, sometimes doing things on my house, I enjoy that. Or, for a short period of time. Like, when I first started doing drywall, I enjoyed it, and then I don't, and so I don't do it anymore. I also learned a lot. If you don't enjoy it, it's probably not worth your time to do. I remember when I first started my practice, I was doing my own books. I thought I couldn't afford it. I was wrong, number one. I hadn't even checked, okay? I just assumed I couldn't afford it because I was broke. I hated it. I'm the last person that needs to be doing books. I dreaded it. I did it. I didn't get myself in trouble with it, but I hated it. And that chunk of time that it took and the energy that it took and that it took, that was completely wasted. I could have been spending that time drumming up more business, doing more practice development, learning my craft more, doing what other things that would have brought in a lot more money. And then when I actually, looked into it, it was actually like, oh my gosh, do it. It was actually a lot less expensive than I thought. And it was such a good investment. Okay. So especially if you hate the task, what are you doing? That's not worth your time or energy. Okay. If there's somebody else that can do it. Talking about your time and energy. I used to say that time was our greatest resource. I have changed that to energy. Time and energy. What is it going to take to not only do the task, but learn how to do the task? Because the first time you do it, it's going to be crap. Okay? So if you're just, making your 1-year-old a birthday cake and it's crap, okay, probably no harm, no foul. All right? If you're doing something with your business, there could be harm. There could be foul. It could get you in real trouble. So it's not only the time to do the task, it's the time to learn and to experiment and to get it to where you're doing the task well. Is that worth your time? Or could you hire it out for money that you don't want to spend? I get it. Nobody wants to spend money, okay? Especially for, non-glamorous things. But is it worth you doing it? So a great way to tell that number, and there is a number, is what do you want to earn for gross, like for your practice? Let's say you want to earn $450,000, okay, a year, okay? Then you divide that by the number of weeks that you're going to be working. Let's say 46, because you're going to take some time off. And then let's divide that by 40, because you're using flat fees well. And I've never heard an attorney say they want to work over 40, okay? So your time is worth $245 an hour, okay? So if you have to pay someone anything less than that per hour to do a task, you're making money, okay? That's worth the investment. Now, there are sometimes, depending on the skill, depending on what the investment is, you're going to be paying a lot more than that per hour. But, we're talking about labor things, house things, whatever. So when you think, oh, you know what? I don't want to pay somebody to mow the lawn. I'll just mow the lawn, even though I don't like mowing the lawn, okay? If you're paying somebody even $30 an hour to mow the lawn, you're still making out, okay? So is it worth your time? Or is that time better spent on your practice or staring at a wall if you hate it that much, okay? What is the cost of doing it yourself? Many times we do it ourselves to save money. And at least myself, most of the time that I have done that, it ends up costing me a lot more money at the end of the day because I don't know what I'm doing, or I have to do it over and over and over, okay? It takes a while to get that skill. And that's for simple stuff at the house. That's not my business. That's not my practice, where, especially if you're talking about like fees and flat fees, mistakes are incredibly costly. Tens of thousands, 20 of thousands of dollars, bar complaints. I can tell you this is not an area you want to DIY. You better know what you're doing. This is your practice. This is your livelihood. This is ethics. You better know what you're doing. And if you don't, you might want to get some help. Okay? But what are the cost implications? Do you even know? Have you even thought about that? I'll tell you a story. When I was working, I've renovated 2 homes. And I was trying to save money. And so I was going to, and I kind of enjoyed this part of it for about 10 minutes. So I learned how to do drywall. I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? So I was trying to save money on buying drywall, which was really dumb because drywall's cheap. Of all the things that you can buy, it's cheap. And so I had these leftover scraps of drywall. So I was like, why would I throw those out? I'll just use those instead of buying new sheets of drywall. Here's why. Because it took so much time to piece together these scraps, and that wasn't the half of it. Then you have to tape it all, and you have to mud it all, and you have to sand it all. It took weeks versus it would have taken a couple hours. Oh, and then I paid, hundreds and hundreds of dollars to a chiropractor because my shoulder was out from sanding all the drywall. Okay? So when I look at the cost of doing it when I didn't know what I was doing and trying to save a couple pennies, it cost me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Okay? So are you being penny wise and pound foolish? Okay? What is the complexity? Again, if you don't know, be careful, because we think something's simple and it's not. And if it is a matter of, okay, I painted the room, I have to repaint it, or I have to hire somebody to repaint it, okay, fine. That's an easy fix. It might be expensive, but that's an easy fix. Again, dealing with something that's not going to be an easy fix, or that might have a not permanent, but a big consequence, maybe you don't do that, okay? Risk and safety. Again, what are the risks involved? If you do your own electric, you could electrocute yourself. You could burn down the house. Maybe you don't try that. What are the risks involved with doing flat fees on your own? Well, underpricing is the biggest. And then you think flat fees don't work. They do. You just underpriced. And now, instead of improving your stress and your financial situation and your time at work, now you've just exasperated the problem. You might have also committed an ethical violation. Okay? The risks are high. I have said umpteen dozen times, I'll say it umpteen dozen times more, flat fees are amazing. They are a game changer. They will change your practice. They will change your life if used properly. If not, if you don't use them properly, they can be very dangerous. So before you start using a power saw, You better know the safety precautions. You better know what you're doing. Okay? You better know what the ethics involved are for your state. Okay? Availability of help. If there's no one to help you and you need to learn that skill, okay, fine. You're just going to have to learn it on your own and be open to experimenting and be open to learning and learn better the next time. If there's help, though, use it. Now, be careful. There's a whole lot of help on YouTube. Okay. Again, look at who's saying to do what their experience is, and are they trying to do what you're trying to do? Okay. Is it really applicable, or are you comparing apples to oranges? Okay. But by golly, if there is help, real help, somebody that can stand by you and walk with you and say, oh, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do this. Oh my gosh, that is worth its weight in gold. In gold. Okay. So ultimately, the decision to try and do this yourself is obviously yours. You're an adult and you're going to have to face the consequences. But for me, unless it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I want to say, I did that, I'm pulling back on the DIY. It's just not worth my time, and especially if there's something that's important that could have lasting and big consequences. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's also such a relief when you've been struggling with something and you find someone who knows what they're doing to help you. Like the bookkeeper, the accountant, the great marketing person, the great employee. You're just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I don't have to do it anymore. And then you can get back to what you really are good at doing and where your focus should be. Okay. So I would encourage you to, before you just, I can do it myself. I get it. I've said that plenty. I still do. At least go through and decide whether that's a good idea or not. But if you are doing it just to save money, that is generally a horrible idea. If saving money is the first criteria, that is a telltale sign that that's a bad decision. It's going to cost you a lot more money at the end of the day. I talk to attorneys all the time, and we go through what they're doing is actually costing them. And I talk to attorneys who what they're doing is costing them $1,200 a day, $2,000 a day. I'm not kidding. And yet I see these people continuing to try and DIY it. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know. Okay. But that is costing them. I mean, 6 months in, oh my gosh, much less you keep doing this year after year. So what is it actually costing you? A little self-examination and being honest with yourself. And again, get your ego out of this. All right. So if happy painting over the weekend or, whatever you want to do. And I love creating. Again, I love creating. I love doing art projects okay. But if it's important, if it needs to be done right, call in the experts. Okay. My advice. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon.